Welcome back to the show, our good friend, the great and powerful Jake, the Roof King, president of Presidential Construction. He is here. Welcome back, Jake.
What's up, man?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
How are you?
Splendid. How about y'all?
Good.
Doing
We go
good.
from a presidential suit, the blue and the red tie, to the presidential patch. Tell us about that.
Wanted a more casual vibe this time, so the notion of the podcast sat very prominently in my prefrontal cortex before the last episode, and I came in with the notebook. I came in with everything, and somebody gently pointed out to me, bro, you're just there to have a conversation. Just chill. Just let it flow. And so part of why I wanted to come back in was just to have the same thing. Though I will say, now that the camera's rolling and that I'm having a bit of this drink, I'm feeling pretty cranked again.
I love it.
So we're going to keep these folks entertained and we're going to get America back in shape.
Well, it is your 29th birthday, and as I'm showing you around the place, you had to do a quick 29 reps of dumbbell rows, which I thought that I respected that for sure.
Happy birthday, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much.
Yeah.
The rows were done with an 80-pound dumbbell. I'd be glad to try the 100 next year for 30 reps. I've pulled off similar numbers in the past and would be honored to do so again. So thank you for showing me that, Jim, and allowing me to put my hands into the cold plunge. I'm a quarter Swedish, so it just rings true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
You didn't
next
feel
year,
cold then, did you?
I felt locked in.
Okay.
Yeah. Pat and I did a lot of
Oh,
cold
yeah.
plunging
Yeah,
last night.
Yeah, well,
Pat was standing there for like 5 minutes last night.
Now, were you moving around or were you allowing a warm envelope of water to encase yourself?
yeah.
It's good. Does it have some movement in
Yeah,
there?
you gotta
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
thermal layer. You get comfy with that.
It still counts. I mean, it's still freezing cold.
100%.
It's-
Oh, but
I-
they had the jets going, so it's constant. Yeah, so there's no layer.
Yeah, whenever that's because like all of a sudden the jets will turn on and it's like a completely different fucking thing.
Fucking awful, but
Yeah, it feels like you're in like a river.
yeah.
You know, it's like,
I just sit there, I close my eyes and focus on my breathing, and next thing you know, it's 5 minutes. Like, cool.
How much better would we all be if we did focus on the breathing, just in general, even
We've
outside
had
the
this
cold?
conversation a few times, but yeah, no, it's amazing just what breathing can do for you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you were kind of like coaching me through it with the box press,
Yeah.
like as I know I'm supposed to do them, and then I'll lose my rhythm, and then I just fucking start shivering, and then I can't ever.
And that's
get
a
it
great
back.
thing. You just get right back to it. No matter where you're at. Do you know box breathing?
There's like the 4-4-4 intervals.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, and then repeat.
Yeah, he does fives because if you do 3 breaths, that's a minute, 20 seconds.
Mm.
You know, so I was like,
So
all
when
right.
you think about it like that, I'm like, oh, I only need to do 15 breaths to get for 5 minutes. So
Mm.
when you think 15 breaths, it doesn't seem that long.
Well, certain weight, muscular endurance activities and strongman contests, where let's say you've got to do a farmer's hold, or my favorite, the Hercules hold, where they're out to the sides. Totally taken first in one of those events
There you
at a
go.
local contest. Not that big of a deal, but the mental trick I use is to count the breaths, because I think the brain may approximate breathing to seconds. So if you're like, oh, I'm only 18 in, and people are like 45 seconds, 1 minute, keep going, Jake.
Well, but at the same time, too, with breathing, it's getting oxygen into your muscles, which allows for your muscle endurance to last, which, again, in a strongman competition, when you're trying to hold, it's probably going to help you out there. So,
Pretty important. Metabolic waste products exiting the muscles, such as the lactic acid, actually gets recycled back into glucose again. So if you're feeling the soreness in that muscle, it's for a good cause.
well, what's crazy is that people just don't know how to breathe properly, like using their diaphragm. And I remember when I was first introduced to it in pro ball, and we would do breath work and things like that. Like it started getting implemented into our workouts and our stretching and all that stuff. And I mean, it was amazing how much more we could do, and like, as well, like flexibility wise, as well strength. Once you we properly started breathing and warming up correctly, getting our breaths going correctly, and then implementing those breaths throughout our workout. So,
Well, have you heard of the deep breathing after the workout?
Mm-mm.
So if someone's going to discuss the manner in which high intensity interval training burns more calories than the equivalent calorically intensive steady state cardio, they talk about the post-exercise oxygen consumption. So, for the 24 hours after you're burning more calories, on Huberman, I forget who it was, but he has a coach that he'll put his fighters through breath work in between the rounds. And then he'll even have people do breath work after their training to expedite the recovery. So that's another one that I've been throwing in periodically.
Yeah, if you figure that one out, let me know. I'd love to listen to that.
You could also do the algorithmic method of listening to all of them, but don't do that because this is your house. You gotta stand on business. That's how it's done.
Well, I mean, I do love Huberman's show. I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm a like regular listener of his. I mean, I've definitely listened to some episodes, but anytime he's on any of the podcasts I regularly listen to, he's for sure one I'm gonna tune in
It's all about getting the little things right.
For sure. He's like, anytime he's on Rogan or Modern Wisdom, or I mean, he's been on numerous podcasts, Theo's, a bunch of them. And anytime, it's always, I feel like I learn something from him every time I hear him talk.
And I find I'm more of an auditory learner as well. And if you can't really sit still for a super long time, people will think they don't have the ability to read that much. Well, if you get into a museum and you take out the sitting variable, now you got a bigger focus. Or I think more people are auditory learners than they expect. And so I think that's part of why the podcasting is ticking up a bit, because when you think in your brain, you don't really think typographically. You may think more based off the sounds, or you can like remember where you were when you listened to it. That's one way that I increase my memory of podcasting, is kind of tie it to the location.
Oh yeah, I definitely do that as well. And that's like one of my favorite things about podcasts is that you can consume them while you're doing other things. So like I could be doing something productive, like, yard work or cleaning the house or organizing my basement or doing whatever, driving around. Like but I feel like I'm doing something productive while I'm being like double productive, because I might be learning something or being entertained depending on the podcast. But it's just like I can complete tasks while I'm doing podcasts. So it's just kind of like, I feel like a double whammy.
So to what extent do you consider your goal with regard to the impact on the listener of your podcast between being entertainment, informative, or advice? Like, let's say you had to make a pie chart.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question.
Oh
man, I would say, wait, so what were the three? Entertainment, education, and what?
You get to pick the categories.
Okay.
We're in your house right now.
I would say I would put them into kind of both of those categories. And I think we do a fair amount of each. It just totally depends on the guest, right, and what we're talking about. Because some guests will, it'll be just kind of shooting the shit, and we'll just be getting kind of silly and laughing and, cracking jokes and, telling stories. But then there's other people we'll have on where it's like, it's a much more serious conversation, and we'll like, I'm actually learning, and then some episodes we have, it's a good combination of both. So man, I'd almost say like a 60-40, 50-50.
Yeah.
It's gotta be something close to that. I would say it's it's just very guest dependent.
Yeah.
A guy like you, I think it's kind of like more like a 50-50, because I feel like we learn shit from you, but you also just fucking
very
make me
entertaining.
laugh.
I appreciate that. Just, you got the silly goose on the loose.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, I feel like because we always talk, I mean, we learn something from everyone that we have on the show. I mean, I would say like the one we did yesterday, that was going to be probably more of an entertaining aspect than an actual learning. But no, I mean, I would say that was probably 80-20, maybe even 90-10 on entertainment versus like learning something.
True.
We just sat here and talked about jujitsu for an hour and a half.
We had some twins on that are about to open their school in Illinois, and
identical twins.
Yeah, they're identical twins, and one of them got into jiu-jitsu like one of them much earlier than the other. One of them's a black belt, one of them's a purple belt, and they're just interesting guys.
Yes,
they're very different with them being identical twins, like very like different guys.
One's very chill and laid back, and one's very like high energy, like
it's just interesting. They're great dudes. We had a lot of fun with them.
We had a good time.
But since your last time, last time you were here, we talked about skydiving, competing, grip strength, roofing, your presidential proclivities. What's changed most about you since the last time we sat down and talked?
So the skydiving occurred the day after appearing on the podcast, and fascinatingly enough that you titled it Flying Close to the Sun, because the experience was fantastic. We're doing the jump, and then we land, and I actually cracked my neck a little bit onto the ground. and had some like stiffness that I was battling for a couple months.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
And so
man.
very quickly I reinterpreted the experience of coming in hot to the podcast and kind of showing him who's boss. And I found myself, I'm like, wait a sec, I'm actually getting some pushback. Like these gentlemen as men are approaching me to kind of at least consider the way I'm approaching the world with regard to potential overconfidence in things. And then sure enough, the next day, maybe I shouldn't have worn the sweater vest because the weight of the tandem, I think they say, oh, don't do it over 230 pounds. Well, Big Jake was clocking in around 225. 226.
Well, you're not supposed to skydive if you're over 230 pounds?
Tandem at least.
Oh.
And maybe not even solo as well. I'm not sure, but
Well,
it's not
like I want to jump out of planes anyway, but
it's not really the activity where I'm going to invest so much that it's like, hey, I'm qualified now to just jump alone. At that point, there's other things there's other proclivities
Yes.
to explore.
Oh.
And so that was like one day after the podcast, boom, having an impact.
I mean, it's just so many things can go wrong there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get it. It's got to be the biggest fucking thrill got to be one of the biggest things you can do for a thrill out there.
It
But
kind of
man.
jumped the shark because by the fourth time I'm testing, like, how low can I keep my heart rate this whole time because I'm used to it.
So how many
And I'm
times did you jump?
relax, bro? That was the fourth time.
Oh, okay.
And unless I'm mega lean at some point, probably just not going to prioritize that activity. But with that being said, what should I do for my birthday this year instead? Because that was like my thing before. I'd go every year for my birthday. What should I do instead? Because it snuck up on me and I don't really have plans besides just regular dinner.
Right.
That's not
Yeah. I don't know.
legendary.
That's not legendary.
You know what I
you
mean?
should go line dancing.
Mm.
Yeah. Stovals out in Wildwood. Yeah. Wednesday nights. I think it's beginner's night tonight.
Really?
Line
Yeah.
dancing. huh?
Line dancing. There you go.
Yeah, did you have that answer lined up?
That just kind of came to me.
Okay. Yeah, well,
You
you
got cowboy boots, flannel, cowboy jeans, and cowboy boots. You got to do the whole thing.
pair of jeans that fit just right.
Exactly. Just like, there you go.
Yeah.
And it actually should be a pair of jeans that fits just right because pair is a singular noun.
Yeah, if you
But-
say pairs, you're looking at multiple pairs of jeans.
Correct. And so in the
Okay.
song, he says a pair of jeans that fit just right. So if it was some jeans that fit just right, it'd be great. But pair is the subject of the sentence.
Ah.
We just finished the 10-year class of 2015 senior class reunion. We had 115 people. Major success for Class
I was
Presidente.
gonna say you were the president, right?
Now that it's off my plate, I'm connecting back into the philosophical realm, picking that encyclopedia back up, and it's manifesting itself in my speech. And
There you
so
go.
just little grammar things like that, I'm just kind of staying alert, and we're having some new tropics. So
Yeah.
that one wasn't going to slip by me today.
What encyclopedia are you reading?
The Britannica 1993.
Okay.
So if you're born in 96, it's kind of a what did I miss?
Mhm.
Well, and so here's the answer to, let's say people are talking about, well, a college degree, you can find anything you need to know online. And through experience of this encyclopedia where there's some old school knowledge in there,
Mhm.
it has occurred to me, well, if things are always getting updated, you can't necessarily find those. So that's where you get the primary texts.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's a big problem with like colleges and stuff. Like they're like by the time that it's approved to be like the lesson plan and that's the book we're reading, that shit might be outdated by now. Because I mean, think how quick things are changing now. I mean,
Especially today.
I
Back-
mean, 5 years. Like think about 5 years ago, we weren't even talking about AI.
No.
I mean, some people were, but not.
They were
not-
talking about Allen Iverson.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't talking about ChatGPT and how it's kind of completely changing the world.
Yeah.
I think here's what I think ChatGPT is doing. If you ask it for advice or any type of feedback, it just gasses you up. It says, that's such a good idea. You're really onto
Yeah.
something. Or it's like, that's a great question. It's very insightful and deeply human.
Yeah.
So we just got to think for ourselves at some point.
Oh,
So
for
that
sure.
was
Right.
part of the idea with having a little throwback knowledge as well, is because it's just differently curated. For example, where else was I going to learn that Nordic peoples would herd reindeer? They milk reindeer.
I've heard that. Yeah.
You're growing up learning about Santa Claus when the real story is found in these dusty pages.
I should look into that. when we did the descendants thing, my dad found out that we are descendants of Nordic Vikings.
Oh, that's sick. No wonder you're so fucking
That's
big.
part of why you're such a beast. Like, let me guess, like, are you lactose intolerant or can you, park a quart?
Well, I mean, I don't
Of
drink
milk.
a whole lot of milk, but yeah,
But you could.
I probably could. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like here's an anecdote about just how can you do things a little differently. Now Huberman wouldn't necessarily do it this hardcore, so that's why people are tuning in here with you all today.
Yeah, baby.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Shareholders Conference 2024. At the lunch break, we go to this historical site where it's basically a castle. And we show up, and it's in Omaha. It's not that far from where the conference was. And somebody that was in my group, there was just me and a couple buddies. He says, yeah, I'm surprised that more people from the conference aren't here at this castle. Like, this is a pretty cool historical site. And I said, you know what? They're really caught up on the current thing. And for lunch, they're just going to go have a sandwich. So not only are we hitting that historical site, but then when we go to lunch, we hit a convenience store, half a chicken, half a gallon of milk, a tin of blueberries.
There you go.
That's going to be a different result than just following the herd.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong there. That sounds like a great lunch.
I mean, I like buying a whole rotisserie chicken
Yeah.
at Deerbergs or Schnucks.
Taking that bad boy home.
Like
throwing it
it.
down.
As long as I can get to it before my 5-year-old does, that dude will crush a whole thing. I turned around one day, I picked one up, and I turned around, that dude just got the whole thing devoured, just sitting there in front of him. He's just like picking it off, eating it, shoveling it, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Crushing it.
Hell yeah.
Is he going for that dark meat?
Oh, yeah.
Because it goes down easy.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
dude,
like-
the dark meats.
That's my favorite part.
Oh, for sure. Like I grew up and my parents were not dark meat people, so we just felt like we always were eating just like chicken breast and like just white meat. And then I don't know, a little bit later into life, I discovered the dark meat at
Went to the
Thanksgiving.
dark side,
I
huh?
went to the dark side, and that was a game changer for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's definitely prefer the dark meat.
Same.
Can't go wrong there.
Nope.
But so how's this year been with the business?
There was a large storm in March.
Couple large storms.
And then there was a mega storm in May.
Yeah.
And the first one was a little more traditional of suburban houses, got some hail, roof gutters, and siding. This May one was more of a biblical tornado that covered more area than I thought was possible. And it was pretty devastating to see what happened to a lot of the historical houses across the income level, because there's your Kingsbury Boulevard and your Central West End, sort of what would be called the World's Fair homes from the 1904 time period.
That big, beautiful, expensive,
Colonial,
you know,
just, yeah.
120-year-old homes. Like,
Similarly built houses also exist in lower income areas where we did get some calls there where just some of these houses are going to have to go. I mean, tree going through a third story, bricks not being tuck pointed. So you've got houses with the chimneys collapsed. The amount of chimneys collapsed was unbelievable. The Lindell Boulevard, where the mansions are north of Forest Park, which was designed by the same gentleman who did Central Park in New York, and the Biltmore Estate, which is the largest private home in the country. His name was Frederick Law Olmsted. The trees in Forest Park are down. They were lining the street. We were doing tarps, at 8 p.m., getting into, there was one where there was an attic, water's coming in. So we're trying to edit some different tarps that another company had done from inside the house. You don't know what kind of particulate matter was in these 100-year-old walls.
asbestos. And,
A lot of them have been remodeled in the 1950s is what I found out. The 1950s kitchens are so long lasting that a lot of these houses still have like a 1950s style interior. So I definitely learned a lot in the process of kind of just chewing on these projects throughout the months. It's been unbelievable. The bigger houses and nicer projects from a business standpoint can be a great thing. It can be a very challenging thing. I mean, there's some slate roofs that are booked out till 2026
Oh, wow.
for next year, depending on supply and what company. It did allow us to work on a house that's on the National Register of Historic Places,
That's pretty
which
cool.
is something that I've wanted to do for a while. And luckily that one didn't take too much damage, just happened to need a roof this year. We did one in Soulard near Allen and Menard, where that's, I believe, in 1890s. And we added some little copper ridge caps on some of the slate gable triangles that encase the building. It's one that, if you see it, and it's been an honor to kind of graduate from doing more just kind of regular turn and burn jobs to being more of a gentleman of the industry. And the historical angle really started out as being a proclivity, sort of an interest, a way of selling it, so to speak. Like, I enjoy these elements of the house. But as I worked on more and more of them, now the phone rings specifically because people aren't getting calls back for those. Like the National Register of Historic Places guy tells me he couldn't get anybody else to come out.
Wow.
So somebody's got to do it, and no one's better than anybody. So I'm willing to get the hands dirty. We've been on some steep ones and some tall ones. So just grateful to even be alive.
Yeah,
if you're breathing, you're achieving.
That's awesome.
And your knowledge of like history and like the architecture in St. Louis has always been something that I've really respected about you. That like I'm just very impressed with like how well who's the guy that did Central Park and also did Fort? Like I never heard that.
Frederick Law Olmsted. Yeah,
that's a cool fact. That right there, like that's really cool. And the fact you said something earlier that was like St. Louis was the fourth largest country in 1904, or no, fourth largest city in 1904.
So then it gets back to the question of, do you believe in fate? If you've ever been to Cahokia Mounds, Monk's Mound was the tallest human-made structure in the continent for a long time. And I think it has something to do with the confluence of the two rivers. But if you look at that and the fact that St. Louis was this major town, I mean, it was featured in a global book about brickwork, a global review of bricks from, I think, 1910, maybe. And St. Louis was one of the headlining towns. You could even look at some Cardinal baseball stuff. I think there's something spiritual about St. Louis where it's like just bound to be great. And I think that energy, shines through in some of these real estate groups. And it's just, even if it doesn't exist, I don't know, maybe I'm not onto something, but if you can at least think that way, how can we be inspired rather than merely practical?
Yeah.
Or with these historic ones that took all this damage, yes, there was a level of craftsmanship and material and labor availability that existed 100 years ago that doesn't exist now. That's when I think historical things are interesting, is what previously was accomplished that you couldn't now accomplish. I think that's a basic reason everybody postulates about how the pyramids were built.
That's exactly where I was going to go with it, because like they still don't know how they were built. I mean, even today, these are like 10-ton stone, or they're like 10,000 pounds a piece. So 5 tons, and they were most of these blocks, and there's like over 1 million of them, and and a lot of them are from a quarry 500 miles away.
And it was just lined up so perfect.
Yeah, it's lined up so perfectly that you can't even fit like a quarter in between each piece. It faces perfect north, south, east, and west. Like, I mean, there's just so many questions about the pyramids. I mean, have you seen the newest thing that they've discovered that's like
something deep down?
Yeah, deep down, that there's like these like pillars like under what, like I think it's like 200 or 300 meters below the pyramids, and there's like all these series of like pillars, and they're like, what is this? I mean, there's so many theories out there that I mean, that they weren't man-made, that they were man-made, but with completely different technology that we have available today. Because there's are you familiar with the Dryas impact theory?
No.
So I think it was about 17,800 years ago, or no, 14,800 years ago, there was a large, like, we went through a comet storm, and and it caused like flooding all over, like it was like kind of like a great reset. So they're thinking that this is just we're a species with amnesia, and there was like basically human beings basically reset, and like there could have been a whole different line of technology that we still haven't discovered today that they may have discovered back then. And that's probably what could have built the pyramids. Like that's just a theory out there, which I just think super interesting, because, like now, I mean, all of our technology is like mechanical, but the theory is that they had access to some other technology that we're just not aware of yet. We just went into a completely different, direction with our infrastructure and with our technology and, the Industrial Revolution. And that was, that's just a theory, but I just think it's super interesting.
Well, if you look at the length of the time frame, here would be one sort of corollary 100-year comparison, which is one of the houses we're working on has a curved glass window. Nobody can find somebody that makes curved glass in St. Louis.
Like, what do you mean curved? Is it like, it's not like
not like an archway, but like rounded.
There's like a turret style feature
like
on a house. Correct. Where you could just as easily do the glass this way, but what's pre-existing and what sadly got damaged because stuff was flying everywhere.
You can't replace that. Well, you can.
At least the highest level of expertise that we've been able to find in St. Louis, the person concluded with, if you find someone who can do it, let me know. Or consider the following: a 1930s house in Webster Groves had a bay window and there was a piece of wood that was bent. So guys would have probably been using steam to bend the wood. So it was white painted. So we instead used a flexible PVC trim. So the I think question that lies before us is, okay, despite what was lost, what do we have available now that is better available that could be advantageous? And the way I start to theorize with something like the pyramids, at least just a little start, is, you know how they say don't compare yourself to others? My little caveat to that is don't compare yourself to others in the present day. So if you look at the founding fathers part, I think why I was on the presidential proclivities train is because, like, the guys writing the Federalist Papers, for example, Thomas Jefferson had 19,000 letters, all of them with a copy from a little device he made that would ghostwrite the second letter with another pen. You can see it at his house in Monticello.
Really?
And
it was like kind of it was pre-printing press. No, it'd be after.
Essentially, way after printing press, but pre-typewriter potentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And don't fully quote me on that. Or they would take a walk for like 5 miles just in the middle of the day. So I would see, just on a sort of personal behavior standpoint, or from an attention span standpoint, or cold exposure tolerance standpoint, what actually is possible / used to be expected. For example, I have like a great grandfather that would swim on a horse across a river. And then if you're sleeping outside, you sleep under the horse. Bye, honey. I'm going to walk to Ohio today. Maybe I'll be back in a few months. We'll see.
Yeah.
But the average person's existence now is very interactive with incredibly advanced digital and electronic technologies. So as a society as a whole, we're really leveraging a lot of technology, but a lot of that show is brought to the stage by a relatively small number of highly advanced individuals that are manufacturing and designing these things. And so when you look at something like 100 years ago, perhaps on the basis that a greater percentage of the population was involved in the building trades, how many scaffolding contractors would there have been if you look at all the steep church roofs? How many masons would there have been in comparison to the population versus what you have now? So with the pyramids, you could say, well, how many mathematicians would you have to even be discovering math like that in the first place? So algebra, you know how like there's a news network, Al Jazeera?
Mm-hmm.
AL comes from the Arabic, so algebra, algorithm. So that's coming from that area of the world. They call it the Arabic number system. Still don't have any comments about how the pyramids are built, though.
No, I don't. I mean,
could you refinance the pyramids?
If I could have. Cool.
Yeah, sign me up.
It's a construction
Cash out refi on that bad boy.
Masonry non-combustible.
Yeah, non-combustible. Yeah, I mean, I think I heard something recently that like it was like, I can't remember if it was 100 or 200 years ago that, it probably would have been more like 200 years ago that like 96% of like people would have said that their job was being a farmer, and today like it's less than like 3%, or even smaller than that.
Yeah.
Like people that are actually like would consider themselves farmers, and it's just crazy how our, just the jobs that we have changed over time. I mean, I know that's everybody's kind of worry with AI that it's going to take away all these jobs and everything. But you got to look at like how many this has happened before, not to this level, I wouldn't think. But I mean, think about when like people, like when cars were invented and like people started using like trucks to take things instead of, train and like all these other things. Like there's so many like industries that have just been revolutionized over time that, and that's, I mean, if you're going to think about it in a positive way with kind of where everything's going with AI and everything, like, I think as humans, that's one thing we do very well is we adapt. And so I think people are just going to find new purposes and new jobs that, that AI can't do, that maybe we aren't even aware of yet.
I think it can go back to the importance of the in-person stack, which may be why the podcast increases in its prominence, because you really can't even watch most informational videos on YouTube anymore, because once you can tell it's AI, and there will be a lot of filler comments, like a historical one where they say, and the ideas were magnificent. It was truly marvelous. It was a home fit for a royal lifestyle. I say, no, I want hard details about the wallpaper and the furniture. That's what a human being can give me. That's what a real in-person tour can deliver. Mm-hmm. And so I think you want to ride the wave. So in the way that wood-burning fuel transitions to coal, transitions to oil and natural gas, nuclear and renewables, even as the career openings go in that direction, we still connect with what people are at their roots, because the human mind and reptilian brain hasn't changed to where being in shape is as important as it's ever been.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Taking care of yourself physically is as important as it's ever been. And so regardless of what happens on the AI front and the little technologies and things like that, because, that'll be presented to me anyway, but to find the historical stuff, we got to work for that some, let's get out and chop some wood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say though, like, I definitely don't think the homes that are being built today are going to last as long as the homes that were built back then.
There is going to be a problem on that front, and not only because of the design itself, the fact that a lot of it will come from farmed trees, which you got to get the wood from somewhere. But what I've discovered with the wood types, so not only did they have, non-standardized wood sizes at different points, but if they were able to just find a tree that was growing for 100 years, that's going to be a different fiber quality than if you're just chopping down a bunch of yellow pine.
Right.
So that's one that you can't really control. The masonry, the ones that weren't tuck pointed, those are the ones that had the collapse hazards at this storm. So a different type of maintenance and with vinyl siding, but there is sort of a hypnotic trance of the modern McMansion neighborhood where you drive through and there's no trees a lot of the time because they had to cut them down to build everything.
That's how my old neighborhood was. And part of what one of the things the county came back, and as well as Manchester came back and said, is that they have to plant a tree in every yard for with all the houses that they built, because it was a horse farm that had this historical, talking about historical things, but it had this, I want to say it was like a 150-year-old barn on it, and nobody could buy it because this was a historic site. And then all of a sudden one day this barn collapsed mysteriously, and then someone came in and bought the property and sold it to a builder, and yeah. So
it is interesting that from an insurance standpoint, the moral hazard of arson could be from somebody with an ownership interest in the property. So that's one of the little historical balancing acts. I wouldn't even call it a debate, because I call it a balancing act, because there can be a lot of different situations where you apply each concept in some level of proportion, which is historical preservation versus property rights. Mm-hmm. And this instance was a flashpoint in that balancing act. But they'll cut down the trees. That actually seems to affect the weather pattern. So the weather can come in and that's, I think, part of what happened in Joplin, Missouri.
Yeah.
A while back.
Yeah, I was down in Springfield when that happened. I remember that.
There's like
was that 2013?
Sounds right.
12 or 13?
Yeah, I want to say it was 12 or 13.
I wasn't in the business at that point, and I had never been to Joplin except for some road trips. So I don't know exactly when it was, but definitely a tough one, and I'm glad they've recovered.
Oh yeah. Did you see
when you go through Highway 44, you can
Yeah.
drive through Joplin. That's
Oh,
about
sure.
my main exposure to the town.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever even been in the town. I've just driven by it, but I knew that it was like 30 minutes from where I went to college.
Well, I had been there. They had a summer ball team there in one of the leagues that I played in when I was in college, and we went down there a few times. And that was in 2000. That was the summer of 2009. So it was just a handful of years before anything, before that storm came ripping through. So, but no, it was pretty devastating. I had a bunch of buddies that went down there because I was still playing at the time. I had a couple of buddies that went down there and volunteered, and they were just like, "Dude, this is insane." And then they just did that documentary on it on Netflix.
Mm.
So there's a pretty cool documentary on Netflix about it. It's like a 3-part thing, I think.
They should do one on what happened in St. Louis. One of the houses we're working on, the guy's deductible. You know how normally people expect 2,000-3,000.
Yeah.
Well, now with the more storms and the roofing industry has been somewhat gamified, and it's good. There was sort of a gold rush for a few years that insurance responded to, and it's sort of a challenging overall situation because the storms are getting worse. There's a little bit more volatility in Mother Nature, and for Missouri specifically, the thought is that the hail belt is rising further north. And so that'll continue, and I've seen it happen to frame construction houses, and now I've seen it with a lot of the masonry non-combustibles from 100 years ago. It all gets jacked up if it's a bad storm. The thing with the foundations on some of the newer builds is like a concrete foundation is going to be waterproofed much better until it does crack. Then it can become a little more of a scenario. Whereas with the stone and mortar foundations, it's not from a water standpoint quite as good, but it can just go a really long time.
Yeah.
And the way that builder grade windows and siding interact with each other, and like a lot of houses don't have moisture barrier put under the siding when they're built, there is going to be a little bit of wood rot happening around the windows of a lot of these siding houses. So like as a consumer myself of living space, I personally would not purchase, or I wouldn't prioritize unless I had a good like plan for it or was ready for it, one of the like 2-story siding houses that has a huge window column on the back. Because let's say you have one that has decorative quarter round windows, to get those like custom ordered and actually fit, and then you've got a guy finishing drywall 2 and 3 stories up in your house. I'm a ranch enthusiast, but because the demand for land, they don't really build ranches like that anymore. So part of how I really got accelerated in the industry is I think I was the first guy to start looking at 60s through 80s houses as being historic and having their own kind of value on it, because people have sort of a binary view of, oh, I'm not one of those fancy old houses in the city. This is just the suburbs. And I said, no, but it's actually the Georgian revival style. And in the 1980s, there actually still were a lot of stylistic elements that you don't see put into new houses now. To evaluate means to assign value to. So no matter what kind of house you're looking at, there is going to be some type of element from the past, or even you go to Marshall's. I was there the other day and looked at some of the artwork they had. They don't just have like random landscapes in there. You can buy a little Van Gogh.
Okay.
So the idea that the elements of history live on even in the most basic ways.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to the roofing industry, and like, what do you think because like you said, it's kind of a gold rush. So, and personally, I've just seen a lot of, roofing companies just kind of spring up out of nowhere, or either that or they're out of town kind of storm chasers. What do you think will separate, the guys that will stick around and continue to do this from the guys that, were just here for the gold rush?
So what I meant by the gold rush is an environment where insurance was easily leveraged to get roofs replaced. Now that the insurance has tightened up and raised deductibles, it's more reliant on a severe storm than it was previously. So in the year 2022, I did about $1.2 million in sales without any siding replacement. My name's Jake Little, and I get them approved on Little Hail. The deductibles were low. It was very easy. It was buttery. And so I think the reason that so much popped up in town. There was a lot of out-of-town competition, way more than there was a few years ago. One, advancements in the industry have made it easier for out-of-state actors to participate. Higher interest rates have meant that you need a higher return on an equity-style investment compared to what's found in the public market. So roofing has been a prime candidate just for those sort of industry-specific reasons. I guess interest rates are more generally economic. But anyway, the storms weren't that bad in much of the rest of the country. I've heard recently there was a technology company that took my partner and I out to a baseball game. And he was like, yeah, there just weren't storms really in the other markets this year. So I think it's becoming more storm dependent than what previously insurance was working a little bit more like a home warranty program. I mean, you still had to point to the hail, but it was just much easier. So now upgrades / retail. So just based on the value of our communication is better, our materials are better. Because of these weather hazards, people are more interested in having a better product on the house as well. So there's a different type of asphalt called polymer modified shingles, that it's like a rubberized asphalt that's more flexible, that can deal with the weather extremes. So even though one of the funding sources is drying up, there's still going to be a linear increase per year in demand for the product. So there is a lot of chatter in the industry. Oh, things are getting more difficult. This is tough. The number I care more about is the industry going up in general? Because any arena I've ever been in, I'm always ready to compete. This is just a different level of it. Other guys want to work to they want to work to live in the wintertime. Well, I'll live to work because I enjoy doing these other things and just bringing that hype, that mojo. So we'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
Yeah. I'm
just fine.
It's very needs based too. So here's one other thing that is increasing that I actually am not as big of a fan of. Big Jake will take a stand on this. Financing. So you go to these roof conferences and everybody says, yeah, you got to finance your deals. Insurance is going out. So it's all retail. So you got to offer financing. Well, here's what I've run into a few times. Homeowner finances a little upgrade to the house. They're paying interest on it. Now a storm comes. Now they have a deductible on top of the interest they were already paying. I've never financed a job. And I'm very proud of that. So people have either held them over in time for enough of a storm, gotten them a good deal on paying cash.
Yeah. That's great.
That is great. Yeah, because we're feeling it right now on our side. Insurance costs have gone through the roof when it comes to getting home insurance. People are constantly complaining about home values going up, where interest rates are at, but they don't think about the other aspect of it, because your monthly payments is part of your insurance. And I used to be able to get on a $300,000 house, we used to see policies around $1,500 to $1,800. Now they're over $3,000. My insurance on my old house went up, doubled in the 4 years that I owned it. I went from being $1,800 to over $36,000. And it's just, you're seeing a lot of that stuff go across, and it's making it's making tough, making things unaffordable for making our monthly payments on people. So, and a lot of that has to do with claims, because obviously it's not just the claims that you're putting, I would be putting on my house, but claims that my neighbor who has the same insurance policy is putting on theirs, that's got to get paid by somebody. So, and unfortunately, everybody feels the effects of it. Now we're really starting to see it after all these storms have come through, and what these policy premiums are doing. There's a couple of insurance companies that have done a good job of it, but yeah, it's gotten bad.
It's happening on the auto side as well, because there's more electrical components in these vehicles, so that's driving up the cost. And the other area where I specifically, and where my approach has been a boost, is getting involved on these transactions, because the standard of information, let's say that a homeowner would want to file a claim on their house, some pictures of the hail, call the agent, can be mostly done verbally. Whereas if you have a title company or a mortgage company, they're getting more concerned about the roofs too. I'm getting called into more and more of these sort of report generating type of assignments that sometimes then the roof will do it the day before the close. So then they know that when the Jake Little name is behind a job, that I can build a job on Thursday, knowing that I have the confidence that we'll get a check from the title company on Friday and that we can fill out all their forms. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a professionalization of the business is occurring. And here's the I would say maybe the slight silver lining, because I've thought a lot about this, is the core items of, insurance, your electric bill, housing, and food. The reason those costs are able to go up, but people can still enjoy a relatively similar standard of living, is because of economic efficiencies made by other technologies. So like your entertainment can be really handled by the big tech, or like Amazon creating efficiencies in the supply chain. That means you end up saving money on some other things, which is why it doesn't feel like we're all now just fighting to only have the basics covered, because you can have a reasonably high standard of living from some of those services, which is why I think South Technical High School, if you've heard of South Tech High School, that used to be more of like an alternative school that didn't seem to be as big of a deal back when I was attending school. Well, now they've got over 500 kids and there's a lottery to get in. That shows how much opportunity can exist, is that in the last 10 years, technology's blowing up to the point where you have a varsity video game team at the high school, but at the same time, the trades are also growing that much. Yep. Keep your eye on the ball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, some of the people that I know that are in trades, I mean, the amount, especially some of these unions, and the amount of money that they're making because there's so little people going into it. Everybody's pushing college degrees, but hey, going to a technical school or learning to a trade school is a quick way to get into it and make good money.
You can charge a lot for a plumbing job when everyone in your town is an artist.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's true. Nobody knows how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if your trade's in art, then you got them there too.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Yeah, that's where, man, that's, I wish more. I mean, going into the trades, I mean, that's definitely something I considered years ago. I mean, because I just always like working with my hands, and I considered it for a really long time before I got into real estate. And obviously I went a kind of a different route, but I think it's such a great, I mean, it's so many great skills you can learn that just help, that can help so many people, whether it's, a carpenter, electrician, plumber, like everybody always is going to need that. And I think that, I think that things are going to change over the next 10 years, especially like, AI is not going to be able to frame out a house, at least not for a long time, like I think those are kind of going back to the AI thing. I think those are going to be jobs that are going to be certainly in demand, like things like being a coder. Cause I mean, I remember, 10 years ago, that's what, when I was going to college, that was what a lot of people were going to school for. They wanted to go like learn how to code or, some sort of computer science, something like that. And now it's like, I could just type a couple prompts into ChatGPT and get what I'm looking for. And, it's tough. It's a tough industry to be in, I would imagine,
Oh, absolutely.
So if I were to distill all that I've discussed as far as taking the intellectual angle, the working out and the gritty day on the job site angle, we can call it Chad GPT.
Hey, I like that. There you go. Speaking of that, what's your training and diet like these days?
The training. So
Let's get into that.
Yeah. So a big one that's popping up again from the vault is the Mike Menser high intensity training, where it seems to me that if you're more of an easy gainer, so let's say a lot of the time that'll be a higher percentage of type 2 fast twitch muscle fibers, those athletes are going to have maybe less of a gas tank to be doing endless sets. And the idea of diminishing returns must apply at some point. You're not going to do 32 sets on one muscle group. Okay, so if not 32, then how about 20? Now, 20 is too much. There is some perfect amount. Mm-hmm. So rather than describing it as being a low volume approach, is maybe just an approach that's committed to finding the perfect amount, what Aristotle would call the mean between excess and deficiency. So, not being foolhardy, but also not being a coward. You have courage. So not doing too much, but also not too little, only the precise amount. And so the part of why I wanted to hit that set on the dumbbell row is to illustrate, like on the lats, for example, something I've been doing to kind of pair it with the rear delts. Start with a bit of rear delt flies just to get the pump going there. You know how stretch training's kind of big right now? Mm-hmm. So part of my thing with the stretch training is digging out of the hole from a very extended position. Like, let's say it's like a sissy squat where there's like a lot of weight on the quads in their very bottom position. For the working sets, I'm enjoying doing a full range of motion, a perfectly adequate range of motion, and then hit it with a stretch afterward. So something from the bodybuilding forums that's sort of an off-growth of the high-intensity training is called DC, where you will do your sets and then have a weighted stretch at the end. So I still like the concept of the weighted stretch. And with the rear delts, I'm like, how many people really do rear deltoid stretch-oriented training? Because it really doesn't have that much strength at this part of the movement. Right. But if I pump them up with those dumbbells and then I get onto the weight-assisted pull-ups, I'm finding I'm getting a killer stretch right there, as well as on the teres major. So if you, let's say you do that flex on a back double bicep and you're looking at kind of the rounded muscle around the shoulder blade on the outsides, I'm finding I'm getting a really good stretch doing that with a nice neutral grip. So then for the actual latissimus dorsi, which can be a little lower and maybe even more toward the center of the back than you expect, like I was feeling that right around the Christmas tree when I was hitting those rows. And I got tatted recently, so I haven't been doing sets with that much mojo. I've been kind of hitting these arms a little bit, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So
yeah, did you always have these, or are these new?
These are a little more new. This one's a family crest right here. It's Latin for concede to no one.
Okay.
Goes back to Scotland from the 1500s.
Badass.
Very
Nice.
spiritual experience to have that applied.
Yeah.
And then this one is a little sword.
Yeah,
It's actually a Scottish one as well, because I'm the roof king of St. Louis.
Okay.
Ooh, I like it.
Little red ruby in the middle right there.
That's
There you
sick.
go.
I like it.
Symbolizes getting cut in the gym.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It symbolizes a lot of other things that are too deep to even explore in this podcast right now. That's one that's earned.
Okay, I always hate talking about my tattoos.
Yeah, you know what I'm
it's
saying?
One of those
Like,
weird things. You know, it's like, I mean, I don't mind hits sometimes, but like when, like you could, like the other day at the grocery store, I'm like checking out, and it's like person's like talking about, I'm like, I don't feel like I don't want to explain everything to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just like come up with like a quick answer, like, oh no, I thought it would look cool. You know,
it's like doing so isn't bad, but it
No.
ain't stoic.
Yeah, it's a little different. You know, it's totally a set and setting kind of thing. If I'm gonna sit here and really fucking go into every single one of my tattoos.
Yeah, like the stuff I already said, just glean the meaning from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Family crest. That's all I
Right.
needed to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless we're like deep into a workout or something and we're crushing it, then we'll discuss it. But for the general population, try us next time. Not that the general population listens. I'm sure your audience is super dialed in.
Oh,
and I'll make sure to
always.
catch up on some recent episodes myself to ensure that your audience is even more dialed in, such as what I've been doing for chest. Back to the gym topic.
Yeah.
This nootropic is working. I was getting into some like stretching things because I've never had as big of a bench. You know, some guys are just more chest, some are more legs. I happen to be more back and traps.
Yeah.
And
No way.
which if you just had to pick one, that's what I'd probably go with.
Yeah, me too.
But you know, who's going to carry the boats or who's going to carry the stones up the pyramids? Side note, I think
I got
that's
the legs under wraps.
I
over
think
here.
that's why the biceps are always like, oh yeah, people look for the big biceps. My theory is that it's like, you know how you'll watch like a video online of a guy doing a mixed grip deadlift and it goes,
Yep.
I think the human brain, for example, maybe the Great Wall of China, we've seen that happen enough where we're like, yeah, I want to see that not pop off when you're carrying something. So toward that end.
Yeah, those videos, man. I've seen so many of the ones where dude's bicep tears and it just roll up his shoulder. I'm like,
gosh,
oh god. And have you ever seen what it looks like when they don't get it fixed? Yeah,
No, I'm trying to keep symmetry on them. I can't even think about that. But not to be judgmental too, you know, that's I respect everybody's journey, but
you don't need those negative thoughts in your head. Yeah.
big dog. And so, like with that stretch concept, like my chest, like getting a huge bench, then you got the wrist and the elbows, the shoulder. I'm also stacking shingles. So over the winter, we're going to be hammering bench. But this summer, I've really in the last year, my shoulder was dinged up a couple years ago. So you learn of different ways to like work it, and getting that weighted stretch has been a huge bonus for the chest. But then I was researching a bit of the biomechanics, or like guys doing the cables where one foot will be forward, and then that right shoulder's coming up. I'm like, no, it's got to be more symmetrical than that. And so I was doing those, and then I saw a criticism of it that said like, yeah, if it gets really flexible, now you're not really hitting the muscle anymore. Now it's just your body's contorting in order to create more range for the sake of range. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling the stretch as much. So toward that end, I'm focusing a little more on that bench right now for a little neural adaptation, little triceps lockout action, and kind of tighten it up a little bit. Cause you know how if you're a power lifter, like you don't want to be stretching like crazy. You don't want to be super limber.
Lean muscle.
And so I'm going to purposely let my chest kind of not be as loosey-goosey for a minute, get that bench up, just also for the respect implied therein.
Yeah.
Not about how much you bench, but just the self-respect. You got to focus on the basics. And then once, my theory is that it'll grow in that process. And then once I'm ready to start throwing the flies back in, it'll be bigger at baseline, but then the stretch will still be a new stimulus again. So I can kind of start over without it already being at such a length and range. So you start thinking of more stuff like that as we age. I'm 29 now. I can't just be throwing around that crazy weight.
No, it's definitely something that's definitely changed in my training over the last few years.
Well, yeah, I mean,
caring about the numbers, the big 1 rep max is definitely not something that's that important to me anymore.
It's still cool to do though.
For sure.
I did see you throwing down 405 the other day. That may have been what precipitated my, let's get on that podcast, bro.
Yeah.
On the deadlift. Yeah. Legs are strong. I honestly not right now. I fucked up my knee, so I haven't done any legs in a couple weeks, but been all upper body so I can get my knee looked at and squared away. But
not a bad silver lining though.
You want to do a good, this upper body workout that my coach from CrossFit's got me on is pretty fucking killer. Like,
let's hear about it.
Yeah, well, it's 3 days a week, and it's weekly intervals that it'll go up. But so yesterday was day 1 of the 3 workouts, and it starts off with barbell bench, and so you get loose, get warmed up. Those sets don't count, but then you go 10, 8, 6, 4, and you keep it the same weight. So you can increase it if you want, but for the first couple weeks, it's the same weight. So I did those 4 reps, and then it's a superset with incline bench and those high to low cable pull downs you were just talking about. But again, making sure you're doing them properly, because it's a very quick and easy way to fuck your shoulders up. But that's going to get underneath. And then from there was superset, cross arm curls and tricep kickbacks, and then abs after that. That was day 1. Day 2 today would be, I got to look at it. I just remember that one because I did it yesterday.
Well, I like the kickbacks. I feel like with all the rage about, because some studies have come out about, the lengthened position of the movement. I just still believe in the contraction. It's 70s style. That's the old Nautilus machines with the 3-second negative. Like when you lift like this, wasn't my jam before, but now I'm digging it.
Yeah. Let's see. Today I have bent over barbell rows. So 3 sets of
most underrated exercise.
Oh yeah. 3 sets of 9 to 11 reps. Then it's low to high chest fly, cable rope tricep push downs, seated Arnold press, and then leg lifts and I don't have a GHD machine, but basically sit-ups. Yeah. And then day 3 is going to be strict press, cable rope pull down, lat dumbbell raises, front dumbbell raises, dumbbell supinated curls, overhead cable rope tricep extensions, and then front plank and sit-ups.
And how are you feeling?
Supinated like this or supinated like this? Supinated
no,
is
so-
yeah, because it was like you would hold a cup of soup,
Yeah.
That's
pronated like this because I'm going prone.
Yeah, got it. Okay,
Yep.
that's a good way.
So-
You'll be prone to remember it after that mnemonic device.
Yep. So
I
that's
won't forget the soup.
that's week 2's, and so it's a 4-week progression. So yeah.
Well, last time you were here, you're all no carbs. What's Big Jake throwing down the gullet these old days?
That time I did go like 12 days with 0 carbs, and I was absolutely cranked. It was unbelievable. And here is my assessment of the wave. If you're like, with being out of the house, and there's some work going on in my house to where just there have been some inconsistencies as far as the food selection and things, but the low carb, I still like it for just feeling good, getting that grit going. But after a few days, it can kind of stress you out a little bit, hence where carb cycling comes from. And then your muscles will be sensitive toward building the glycogen. So it's Rich Piana actually would talk about doing this. But I do like having a few low carb days, but not for too long, because you start to get stressed out. So then once you do refeed, you're like, oh, nice, I'm feeling really full and happy, and I'm ready to, get a good pump going. Now, the low carb can then also set you up for a huge rebound where you start going crazy. So I think it does seem that limiting any nutrient intentionally or not does kind of create a tail of craving and things like that, which is why I think lactose intolerant folks like ice cream the most, because they're like, no, I'm not going to get shredded cheese at the grocery store, but now they're calcium deficient, so then they got to have a blowout at Ted Drew's.
Yeah, yeah. I could agree with that, because
Yeah.
I've recently been more focused on like carb timing and timing my carbs. Like for this past week, like I mentioned earlier, I'm competing this weekend in jiu-jitsu, so I had to
Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. Had to lose a little bit of weight, like not much, like 5 or 6 pounds, which I woke up today exactly where I need to be. So I mean, if I could locked in, baby. But I've just been timing my carbs more around my workouts, like and not eating any carbs after 5 p.m. And I mean, this past week I've dropped like 6 pounds just doing that, and I haven't changed my macros at all. They've been, well, no, she did drop me about 400 calories, so I'm at like 2,200 calories for the day. But I'm I'm eating all my carbs. I mean, I'm eating, like I just ate almost 100 carbs at lunch here, like right before you got here. But, I mean, but that'll probably be, I got to add it all up, but that'll probably be the last carbs I have today. And tonight it'll just be a bunch of meat and vegetables.
Nice.
Can't go wrong there.
Now that I got the chickens up and running,
Oh, you get chickens?
my objective is not to give eggs away, but to change people's lives by giving them the eggs.
Okay.
More vitamin D when it's a backyard chicken. A lot of people are vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge portion of the population.
Well, no, I didn't know that
deficient.
chicken.
Oh,
backyard
yeah, backyard chickens.
were more vitamin D efficient.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I think we learned in COVID that, like 70 or 80% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. Crazy.
Yeah.
Considering you can just go
I'm
outside.
one of them.
You can go outside and just get it.
Well, next time I'll bring some of the eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
I did get on that through New Age. They give me the 50,000.
Yeah, a little dropper.
Yeah.
Yeah, vitamin D is super important.
Yep.
It's crazy because it's not really a vitamin; it's actually a hormone. That's from my understanding, and I couldn't really tell you much more about it other than that.
I'm in a similar boat.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can get it just from sunlight, but you can obviously supplement as well. But pretty cool that you can just go outside and
Get
stand
some,
in the sun
yeah.
and get some. Which a lot of us aren't. I mean, that's why people are deficient in it, because people aren't spending enough time outside.
Which I'm surprised because of how often I am outside that
Yeah.
I was deficient in it. But
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you're always at the pool and
yeah, pool or
on
outside
the
with the
baseball
boys,
field.
baseball. Yeah, I mean, always. Shit, even up until I got done with baseball, I spent the entire summer except for maybe 15 days outside.
yeah. So I know you got your blood work checked.
Back in June, I think it
So
was.
even then you were still.
I was, or no, not vitamin D. I'm thinking of fucking give me. Bad that I don't know this. Vitamin D? I don't have to go back and look.
What was the food like in a Major League Baseball context? That's probably a little more fascinating than what Royal Meals the Roof King's been parking.
I don't know. I don't know about the big leagues, but I mean, minor leagues is kind of trash. You're paying. AA was $11 a day, 13 in AAA. I mean, sometimes they were fine, but they didn't feed you. Like they would take that money, they'd go grocery shopping, so you'd have like sandwich meat, peanut butter and jelly, fruits. Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, the best was Pensacola when we were there. When I was there, talking to the guys too. Like guys would go out and fish in the bay right behind the thing,
Yeah,
and they catch fish after batting practice, and they take it and have the chefs cook
That's
up.
primal.
That's primal for sure.
Yeah.
But like as a professional athlete, that shouldn't be what you're relying
I
on.
do try to look at like,
and you're not making shit like when you're on your original contract. So you're going to Chipotle and you're loading that burrito bowl up with as much as you possibly can, and that's 2 meals. You're trying to make it for 2 meals.
bunch of rice bran oil there too. That's one thing, little competition motivation is look at like, the best in the world and what are they doing? What were their limitations? Where are the areas like, here's my competition. They're eating Chipotle on a half meal. I've never done that. I've almost never saved Chipotle. I always ripped the whole thing.
I never.
Not that that's encouragement.
No.
It's simply what occurred.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I don't know if I've ever.
Just not eating the whole thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, a glutton.
Yeah.
I have to finish it.
Well, now, like I said, I mean, you see the bags over there, Fit Flavors. I mean, that's for me, that's at least 2 meals a day. I'm always make my own breakfast, and then, that'll be 2, maybe 3 meals a day for me. It's through Fit Flavors. I know what I'm getting. It's all healthy. It's all the way they cook it. Everything is portion controlled. It's got all my macros. It's got everything I need. So it's great. Yeah, I mean, and quite frankly, with the cost of everything these days, it's no more expensive than going to the grocery store and buying the stuff to cook it. So
do you have any plans for like any strongman competitions or any other grip competitions or anything like that of on the horizon?
I was invited to the Arm Lifting USA World Championships in October. It's in Las Vegas where the Mr. Olympia is occurring.
Damn.
That's awesome.
Just trying to live my life. I don't know if I'm going to make it to Vegas. I've got another conference in Vegas in January. Rhymes with Vegas. That's how you've known you made it, is when it's like, hey, can you come to Vegas for this? Can you come to Vegas for that?
Yeah.
Never been, really trying to retain the cheese bread. Not eat too much cheese bread, though. I'm not as big of a gluten guy. But the mindset can vary day to day, and it's classic ADHD. One day I was like, I would love to do another, Olympic distance triathlon, or I would love to step on the bodybuilding stage, which is the biggest commitment, and it's the most overall difficult.
For sure.
But, and it's almost silly too with like the tanning, and to be perfectly frank, the tan don't look good on this guy, because I got out there at my show, had a bunch of white armpits, and then the sweat was like streaking down and stuff. I'm shaking because I didn't have a posing coach. So, how about doing things for their own sake with Jake? Can I just get shredded for doing it or not? Because how about a healthy body fat range too? But then other times I'm like, I would love to throw down for a strongman contest and all that. So just trying to focus on the health overall, the need. After climbing roofs for 4 years, that bill did come due. So I'm doing a little physical therapy for the knee. I was flying a little close to the sun there. Weird muscle bounces you wouldn't think about. Like, who knew my hip flexor was? Yeah. Just because you did the knees over toes program in 2022 don't mean you got it there right now. Right. You know what I mean? So just kind of focusing on some of those things and doing goals that are more behavior focused. Okay, did I get all my tallies for the week? Did I eat correctly? And then whenever another competitive opportunity arises, just do it in a more focused fashion rather than be the Jake of all trades. So the answer to do what contest is coming up, the answer is all of them. Or at least all the proclivities that lead to the success.
Speaking of your presidential proclivities and all that, how have those evolved since we last spoke?
I'll tell you what, I was pretty cranked that day. I don't know if I've really had the proclivity of adding to them since, but really it'll be about distilling them down a bit. Yeah. And so it still needs a little work. I do think Federalist Papers with Jaker, given the division that happens, because with political division, people will say, you know, you turn down the temperature on the rhetoric, both sides saying that, or, you know, less name calling and things like that. But rather than an interpersonal dynamic or an intergroup dynamic, I think to just review the reasons that there is a U.S. government in the first place and like why the sacrifices that you make by compromising, why are those things worth it? What is the strategic advantage of like, oh, we can stay alive and have resources? I really do think that could be like a uniting thing, because in the Federalist Papers, they discuss the passions. So why do you have elected representatives in the first place? Is because you've seen all the school board videos. The idea is that you have composed individuals that have the ideas kind of organized and can then debate those in the suitable forum for that. So Federalist Papers got to dig back into that. An interesting observation of a friend of mine that works out unbelievably from home, works from home as well. By the end of the day, his appetite is for the physical activity, on top of it being a proclivity of his, where if I'm out there kind of doing more, you could argue simple things, you know, like climb the roof, send the photo of the roof, discuss that with the client. My appetite becomes more for the ideas, which is really just a modern take on man doesn't live by bread alone. And so especially as the winter comes up, that's where we're going. We're going to raise the bar in that capacity.
I like it.
With these ideas. And I've only really made it through some of the letter B in the encyclopedia too. So there's a whole, not only a whole world out there, but a whole alphabet worth of encyclopedia entries from the year 1993.
What have you learned so far from the A's and B's?
So here's the big ones, and it was nothing short of changing the life. So the milking the reindeer thing, that was from A. Arctic. Aristotle, that's a classic. The adhesive section, crushed it for roofing. Absolutely crushed it. So, you know, I talked about the sort of mass adoption of different technologies. So, you know, the horse to the car.
Yeah.
Right now in roofing, there is the asphalt roll to the thermoplastic membrane. Thermoplastic meaning it's heat welded. So they used to use a blowtorch, and then you get a helicopter putting a fire out. Yes, indeed. Flat roofs are more of a science. It's more of like a lifelong project that you learn, whereas shingles, it's a few components, and then it becomes about the customer service and identifying a few different flashing variables. So I'm not going to discount the skill and craftsmanship in shingles at all. But flat roofing is the chicken. You know, shingles are some cheese bread, but flat roofs are the chicken. And the adoption of those membranes, that's kind of the wave I'm surfing right now. Okay. And with the historical angle, it kind of plays into that too, because you get into a chimney, the brick's disintegrating. Got to have some guy named Galati come out and rebuild that for $8,000. Sorry. You know? And so wait, where were we at again?
Adhesive.
Yes. The adhesive, that was life-changing. That was unbelievable. There's heat-activated adhesives, water-activated adhesives. And it's a good sign of the way you guys have stuck together.
Yeah.
I had to do it. Agriculture, that didn't remember as much from that one. Architecture. That was a big one. A gentleman in the home the other day said, so is your educational background in architecture? I said,
I read the A Britannica in 1993.
Yeah. And I grandstanded about a trip to Greece and Spain. Yeah. But when I did look a little more into it, so I started out being fascinated by the pillars, you know, the Federal Reserve building in St. Louis, for example.
Beautiful building.
At the top, it looks like what was called the mausoleum of Halicarnassus. And so the idea that somebody would be completely blindsided in a roof meeting to learn a fact such as that.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating for its own sake with Jake. The architecture angle of the pillar is that not only is it a stylistic element or a structural element, but it is the very basis of board and lintel construction. So how do you get from full masonry to having wood structure? Or like, let's say that you have an arch window. So where did that come from? You're not going to have a wood crossbar, or metal was so valuable back in the day that people would pull the pillars down in order to get the metal rod that held it up.
Oh, wow.
1,000 years ago. Yep. Take the metal. So you weren't going to use that much metal to make a cross member for a window. So you do a stone arch to push the force out to the sides. So let's say you're in the house and they have little arches on their cabinets. It's not an arch. That is the cathedral style. Those cathedrals have the same... They're kind of a cohesive structure to where it's viewed in its entirety, and it may have symmetry. Whereas as society progresses into the 15 and 1600s, you get the Baroque, where the front of the building has a look for the street, and then the sides are just more structural. And then maybe the back has the gutter and then some windows and a porch and things like that. But the idea that the front of the building looks a certain way. So that one was a huge game changer.
Yeah,
for sure. Was reading about birds recently. Birds have a kneecap.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they bend backwards, right? Or like
Depends on the bird. I believe it depends on the bird. Because I think flamingo goes backwards.
Yeah.
I haven't read the whole article because one page could take you, 10, 15 minutes.
Oh,
so
okay.
this is,
Yeah.
it's a
How
great
often are you
cure
like
for
rereading the
insomnia.
page that you just read?
Well, they've been packed up in boxes for a while. So, maybe I'll come back to adhesives at
No,
some
I meant
point.
because I know if it were me,
Just to digest
just
it.
to digest it, because I know I'd be like reading it once, be like, whoa, I need to fucking go through that again.
I have saved a lot of the geographical stuff. So like I didn't read the entire, 40 to 80 pages on Africa and Asia. If I both live long enough and have enough of a proclivity to like do another run through the encyclopedia. Like right now I'm really focusing on things and people.
Yeah.
But I would do like one geographical thing altogether.
Is there
So
one,
I'm not reading it literally front to back. I'm being a little bit choosy.
Is there one thing or person that you're looking forward to getting to?
Bach was all right. That's the BA.
Poser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Once I read the Van Gogh section, I'll talk your ear off.
Gotcha. Good dad joke.
Maybe, I don't know if I think I flipped to R. I don't know if there was a roofing section, but honestly, at this point, maybe I'll have to just study the law. Study the law.
The what?
See the law.
Oh.
Yeah, just kind of see
Gotcha.
Now that I'm 29 and according to modern science, the brain is fully developed, throw down some of those Latin words.
There you go.
See how that goes, because I can't climb stuff forever. And there could be the case. Now, obviously, we're making our presentations and our certifications are solid and our portfolio jobs is neat. But to what extent do these architectural musings appeal to like a board of directors of a company or a condominium association? So, what's the best use of the brain?
Yeah.
Oh, do you guys have any little side hobbies or side studies that are going in beyond the food and the training? And you're locked in this week for the contest, so
been
that's
pretty
got to
focused
be its
on
own
that.
thing.
CrossFit's kind of taken a backseat for the last few weeks. I haven't been doing much there other than like conditioning workouts outside of jiu-jitsu. But other than that, I've gotten back into my reading and meditation every morning. That's been huge. That's been like just starting my day off with that, because I was doing that for the longest time. That was like my habit. And then ever since we had our second kid about a year ago, I definitely felt that was a thing I've fallen off of and tried to get back onto several times. But last 2 weeks I've been pretty disciplined and only missed like one day. So been getting back to that. So that's really been, I would say the biggest thing that's changed with me recently, just getting back to my, 20 minutes of reading, quick 10, 15-minute meditation right when I wake up and just kind of start the day off strong that way.
I do need to get back into that. My reading's been lacking. It's just been more reading for things that are evolving around work.
Yeah, I just started a new book today.
Did you?
Meditations for
Is it by Marcus Aurelius? So I was going to say, if you read meditations during your read and meditating time, you're double productive.
There you go. I've gotten
Meditations for Mortals
Okay.
by Oliver Berkman. I think I heard Chris talking about it on one of the podcasts, but yeah, I just started it, so I'm not very far into it yet, but
yeah, I picked up a bad habit of smoking cigars. It's honestly
it helps you read that book though.
No,
I'm not going to say I've never partaken in a stare game.
I'll be honest. Like, I will do it at the end of the day. Before I go to bed, I'll shut everything off. I'll put some music on, and I'll just sit outside of on my balcony, and it's just quiet thing. I mean, it's just like a way to relax and just decompress from the day. And just not, before I would just kind of hang out in my room or hang out at my place and just not do anything. And now it's just like out there hanging out, smoking a cigar. And it's been since I've joined here. I've developed. It's an expensive habit.
Just do a Bill Clinton no inhale.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah, I don't inhale.
Although, if you accidentally do inhale, it tells you.
No, yeah, you find out.
You
find out real quick.
For sure.
But yeah, no, that's probably been the biggest one. Is at the end of the day, a couple times a week, just sitting outside, just decompressing and enjoying a cigar.
Well, we'll have to call you Buzz Lightyear.
There you go. So.
Yeah. Cool part about this book is it's like I think it's designed to read. It's 28 chapters, and you're supposed to, designed to read one chapter per day, and it's supposed to embrace your limitations and make time for what counts. So, thought it would be a good one. So I just thought I
was able to see a couple
Amazon.
Of
here we go.
There. It was pretty good.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm I just started it this morning, so I didn't get through the whole first chapter, but I'll plan on finishing it before the end of the day. So, but yeah, man. Jake, this has been great having you back in here, man.
Is
there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to chat about? Or is there anything you want to ask us?
I guess the reading would be on a little list that I've been kicking around. It's not quite the presidential proclivities. That's more sort of idealized. But the notion of like, oh yeah, I got to do my stretches. Or, oh, yeah, I forgot that I like to hike. I got to go hike. It's a sort of list of things that every time it comes up, you're like, oh, yeah, I should have been doing that. Sort of like if a guy's wearing a turtleneck and you're like, oh, man, that was a good idea. I forgot about the turtleneck. But the ones on my list generally are like hiking, doing the stretches, doing the breath work, doing the reading, waking up maybe a little extra early to make time for something you may not have otherwise done. What would you guys say are your list of, oh yeah, I've been meaning to do that? And then we can commit to locking in on that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say kind of what I just said with the waking up. That was my problem is I didn't want to wake up early and do those things. I would like wake up the same time as my kids. And then I just kind of felt like I was, just playing catch up all day, or, someone described it as, waking up and being proactive versus reactive. And I like that because I was like, oh, that makes complete sense because I'm like waking up and just like reacting to whatever they need versus like waking up, being proactive and doing the things that I need to do to like have my best day possible. And so, I mean, that would be the thing for me. I mean, that I'm, just kind of getting back on that. Trying to think what I definitely gotten away from I used to stretch every night, like religiously, and I've fallen off that a little bit. Every once in a while I'll get down on the floor while we're watching TV or something at the end of the night and do some stretches, but yeah, that's definitely something I've been putting off, but that's a good reminder. I'll get back to that.
Mine, get back into reading. I'm just haven't been consistent with it. As well as, really like before, like getting back once the knee's done, but like really diving into jujitsu. I'm cutting back on hockey so I can focus more on jujitsu.
We got him.
Jake trained for 2 months this year as well.
You did?
Didn't even mention it. I'm going to build up a little more of a body of work before I even speak about it beyond stating that I did train a fair bit this year.
That's awesome.
Where'd you go?
We'll talk about it next time.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
You know the rules of Fight Club.
Yeah, sure.
So diving back into that, and then that and the reading are the two biggest for me. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been pretty locked in on my nutrition. Working out has been consistent. but I just want to get more consistent in the reading and jujitsu.
Those listening may
Yeah.
not see it, but you're looking solid, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Or
that.
sir.
Thank
Sir,
you.
you're my
Appreciate
elder.
it.
I'm gonna call you sir.
My elder.
With the last question, this is, I would even ask it off the camera. You guys are in very customer service oriented industries, and with the busyness of this year, one area of improvement for me is like keeping in contact with folks because of all life's balancing acts. Oh, that guy's always on his phone. Oh, that guy doesn't respond when I contact him through phone, quick enough. How do you all manage that?
Yeah, that's been something that I've really dived into. I just switched brokerages about 6 or 7 weeks ago now, and that's something I've dived back into hardcore, is just checking in on all my prior past clients. There's so many people that have gone by that I sold my house 2 years ago, and I may have checked in with them once since then, and I'm realizing the importance of staying connected to the people that have gotten me to where I am today. And and those are the best. Like, whenever I get a referral from a past client, those always seem to be like the easiest deals and like the most fulfilling deals, is because like someone who I did a good job for, felt like I did a good enough job that they wanted to send me their brother, their coworker, their son, or whatever it is. And I definitely do not take that lightly. And so that's something I've really been diving into, and just coming up with different ways to just kind of check in, love on them, because that's really what it is. So it's so important, especially in our customer service based industries, to constantly be checking on your people and reminding them that you're there, and being there whenever they need something.
Yeah. And I'm very big in controlling my schedule, and staying on top of that. And it took me a while to learn, like, you can still give quality customer service and not answer right away. For me, if someone calls me, like, I don't know if you have automatic messages set up, like, hey, it's Pat, thanks for calling me. I'm currently on the other line. When is a good time for me to reach you? So now it's setting up a conversation through text, like, hey, when can I, or like if they shoot me a text that I know I can answer quickly right then and there, I will. But if not, and it's going to take time, I'm like, hey, this is going to take a little bit more time than just a text. Can we set up a time for a phone call? And just having that communication with them and working with them to try, like, to make time for them. That's all they want, is they want you to make time for them. And it doesn't have to, and what I've learned is it doesn't have to be right then and there, always. There's sometimes where it might be like, hey, listen, it's really important. And I'll be like, all right, listen, I let me finish what I'm doing, and I will call you back as soon as I get done with this. Give me 5-10 minutes. And they're like, okay, perfect. But for the most time, most people like, oh yeah, that's fine. If you can just give me a call at this time, or get back to me at this time. And they're great. If you go and look at all the reviews I have, I've got something like 300 5-star reviews or something.
There you
go. On Google. All of it is like great communication. He answered all my questions, was like things like that. So, and that's the biggest thing, and that's what people want. And
just did it just now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Who knows how many? I'm especially on that, what in German is known as the Geburtstag.
Yeah.
That
birthday.
Oh,
Okay.
A lot of loved ones. So I'm grateful for that,
Yeah,
So,
I'm getting blown up today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, and most of the time, like, people know, like, at the most will probably be an hour to an hour and a half that I'm not responding. And if I always tell them, I'm like, if you don't hear from me within an hour and a half, shoot me a text again. I might have read it and started a text message and forgot to hit send.
Classic.
So
I do that all the time.
Well, with just a lot of the driving that goes down, and like the physical handling of materials and all that, that's a point of improvement for me,
Right.
Yeah, when Apple did the you can change it back to unread,
that was the greatest thing.
That was the greatest thing.
That was the greatest thing.
Like I'd open a text like while I was driving and read it at a stoplight or something, and then all of a sudden I just would forget to respond because I didn't have that little blue bubble there telling me that I had an unread message.
Yep.
Yeah, that was huge when they did that.
Yep.
So Jake, I know last time you were here we did Tombstone game, I think, right?
Stuff changes though. Life changes.
What would be on the tombstone?
Yeah, has it changed?
What was was it last time? Did I say stand too close to the firefly?
Yeah,
that's one way to end up at the tombstone quick. Right. So yeah, no, I probably would edit that into being Honestly, it'd be sick to have the Boondock Saints prayer.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot to carve into
It is.
stone, you know.
That's all right.
I used to be able to remember the whole thing,
Yeah.
but I couldn't do it right now.
I couldn't
And
either.
one of the only reasons I could is because it was the beginning of a Day to Remember song.
How about this? How about it would say, a life dedicated to treating you like the Kingsbury that you are.
There you
Hey,
go.
that's perfect.
That's perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody that tuned into the show. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Pat and I are trying to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube before the end of 2025. So help us hit our goal. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, click that like button as well, comment what you thought below, and we will see you next time.